Imagine standing amidst rubble, watching military tanks approach, and suddenly, a barrage of gunfire flashes before your eyes. What would you do? This is the harrowing reality that befell Jihad Abu Watfa, a 27-year-old Palestinian who found himself in the crossfire of a devastating incident during an aid delivery in Gaza City. In the dying days of February 2024, Watfa, along with hundreds of other Palestinians, gathered for what was supposed to be a lifeline, a humanitarian convoy. As desperation clung to the air, Israeli military tanks approached, their presence casting a long, ominous shadow over the crowd. Then, without warning, the Israeli soldiers accompanying the convoy opened fire. The peaceful hum of anticipation quickly turned into a cacophony of screams and chaos. Over 100 people were left lifeless, their hopes for survival extinguished in an instant. Another 700 wounded, their lives forever scarred by the terrifying ordeal. The air grew thick with despair and the stench of tragedy. This horrifying incident would later come to be known among Palestinians as the Flour Massacre, a grim testament to their struggle for survival. Among the echoes of gunfire and the cries of the wounded, Watfa began recording. His phone, a beacon of truth amidst the chaos, captured a reality we can only shudder to imagine. In the face of danger, his courage prevailed, bearing witness to an event that shook the world. And so, the Flour Massacre unfolded, a dark chapter in the narrative of a people's fight for survival. The world watched in shock, a chilling reminder of the human cost of conflict. Amidst the gunfire and chaos, Watfa began recording the horrifying event, capturing a reality that many of us can hardly begin to comprehend. What drives a person to risk their life for a bag of flour? Let's delve into the harsh reality of the people of Gaza. The Gaza Strip, a small slice of land along the Mediterranean Sea, has been grappling with a humanitarian crisis of an unprecedented scale. For the civilians residing here, the basic necessities of life have become luxuries. Food, water, electricity, all are scarce, and the specter of starvation looms large. The severity of the situation is such that for over a month, Israel had been denying aid into Gaza City and the northern parts of the Strip. This blockade was not just a denial of supplies, it was a denial of hope. Every passing day without aid was a day closer to famine, a day closer to death. The United Nations called attention to this alarming trend, noting a pattern of Israeli attacks on civilians desperately seeking food. But the pleas of the international community seemed to fall on deaf ears as the attacks continued, further exacerbating the already dire situation. But what happens when hunger gnaws at your stomach, when you watch your children wither away, when the fear of death by starvation becomes more immediate than the fear of bullets? You gather whatever courage you have left, and you join the throng of people making their desperate bid for survival. Survivors of the Flour Massacre, as the incident has come to be known, recounted their harrowing experiences. Many had traveled from other cities across Gaza, driven by the hopes of finding something for their families to eat. When the convoy passed through an Israeli checkpoint, these individuals found themselves facing a barrage of bullets as they tried to reach the food aid. The bullets didn't deter them. Their desperation, their hunger, their will to survive pushed them forward. They were faced with a grim choice: risk being shot while attempting to get the flour or die of hunger. A choice no human should ever have to make. Yet for the people of Gaza, this has become their reality. For the people of Gaza, the struggle for survival has become a choice between facing bullets or succumbing to starvation. In a world where narratives often clash, eyewitness accounts can shed light on the truth. In the aftermath of the tragic event known as the Flour Massacre, we turn to the voices of those who stood on the front lines of this horrifying incident. Testimonies and videos collected from 22 eyewitnesses present a starkly different narrative than the one proposed by the Israeli military. These witnesses, desperate and starved, had traveled from various cities across Gaza, drawn by the faint glimmer of hope that they might find something for their families to eat. But instead of relief, they found themselves caught in a hailstorm of bullets. One such account comes from Jihad Abu Watfa, a 27-year-old who stood among hundreds of other Palestinians waiting for the aid delivery. With the approaching Israeli military tanks, he began recording the scene on his phone, capturing the heavy barrage of gunfire that ensued. His chilling words echo in the video. "We are now under siege, a tank is beside us, and it's shelling." Survivors of the incident recall a terrifyingly similar scene. As the convoy passed through an Israeli checkpoint on Al-Rashid Street, the main north-south route designated by the Israeli military for humanitarian aid, they remember Israeli troops opening fire on the crowds. Despite the rain of bullets, many remained undeterred. Their desperation was such that they believed if they weren't killed trying to grab the flour, they would die of hunger instead. Now let's consider the Israeli military's narrative. They initially blamed the crowd for the incident, claiming their troops felt threatened. Yet the testimonies of eyewitnesses and the evidence of videos cast a large shadow of doubt on this claim. Questions arise. Why would a desperate crowd waiting for a much-needed aid delivery pose a threat? Why would troops open fire on civilians who were merely trying to survive? The videos and testimonies gathered paint a chilling picture, casting doubt on the official narrative and leaving us with more questions than answers. In the wake of such a tragic event, the world watches and responds. But what actions will follow words? The Flour Massacre in Gaza has sparked global outcry, with voices from different corners of the world condemning the incident. The United Nations, along with several countries including the United States, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and Colombia, have come forward to denounce the attack, calling for Israel to respect international humanitarian law. In the halls of the United Nations, the incident has been labeled as a violation of international law, with a stern warning about the impending famine due to restricted access to food aid. The UN team on the ground reported evidence of heavy shooting by Israeli forces near the aid convoy, contradicting Israel's initial claims of a stampede. While words of criticism and condemnation abound, we also see tangible actions being taken. Colombia, in a significant move, has suspended weapon purchases from Israel, signaling a clear stance against the violence. This action serves as a stark reminder that the world is watching and that there will be consequences for such acts. In the midst of this global response, the words of Hamas ring out, warning of potential consequences on negotiations with Israel following the incident. This warning adds a layer of complexity to an already tense situation, hinting at the ripple effects this incident could have on future peace talks and relations. The international community finds itself at a crossroads, faced with the challenge of responding adequately to this tragedy. Will this incident be a catalyst for change, or will it be forgotten as just another chapter in the long and painful history of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict? As the dust settles on this tragic event, the world is left grappling with the harsh reality of the Flour Massacre, and the desperate cries of Gaza echo in our ears. As we sift through the rubble of this tragic event, we are left with lingering questions and a call for justice. These questions echo in the deafening silence left in the wake of the Flour Massacre, a haunting reminder of the desperate struggle for survival in Gaza. The incident forces us to confront the chilling realities of humanitarian law. Are we, as a global community, doing enough to protect the rights of civilians caught in the crossfire of conflict? When aid becomes a death trap, it forces us to question the very essence of human rights. The value of human life should never be compromised, yet the tale of the Flour Massacre paints a grim picture of a world where survival comes at a bloody price. This tragedy also raises pressing questions about the mechanisms in place to prevent such catastrophic events. Are they adequate? Are they effective? Clearly, the Flour Massacre suggests otherwise. The incident is not just a failure of a single convoy to deliver aid safely, it's a failure of the international community to protect the most vulnerable. The narratives around the Flour Massacre demand critical thinking, a discerning eye, and an empathetic heart. They encourage us to question, to challenge, and to seek the truth. They implore us to look beyond the headlines, beyond the political rhetoric, to understand the human cost of conflict. In the end, we are left to ponder. How many more lives will be lost? How many more voices will be silenced before a solution is found? The people of Gaza are dying for a bag of flour, a symbol of their desperate fight for survival. Their story demands to be heard, their cries for help answered.